Hello and welcome to Rathod Science Academy. Today in this session, we are going to see current affairs of 29th October 2025. So let's get started with our discussion. Before getting started, let us see first of all the topics of the day. So first topic it is about IIP, that is nothing but Index of Industrial Production. Growth dips to 3-month low of 4% in September. So here the keyword of this article is IIP, and this topic is important from your economy from GS paper 3. And next topic it is about Chhath Puja and politics. Never the twain shall meet, says devotees. So just see about certain facts regarding this Chhath Puja. So you may get prelims based question regarding this from your history point of view. And next topic is the relocation of forest dwellers from tiger reserves must be voluntary. So as you all know that government is taking lot of steps for improving of tiger population in India. So for that, especially the forest dwellers and as well as scheduled tribes who are living in that region, so government is trying to relocate them. But now here government came up with a new circular. It says that relocation of these forest dwellers, it must be voluntary. People has to come forward with that. There should be no forceful relocation of these dwellers. And this topic is important from environment and ecology, which comes under GS paper 3. And next topic is rising sea surface temperature leading to more cyclones. So actually there is one report which says about there is increased cyclones which are affecting this coast of AP, and the main reason for this increased cyclones is increasing of sea water temperature. So this article is important from again environment and ecology point of view, and even you can cover that from geography and disaster management also. And next topic is setting up an early warning system for Himalayas poses unique challenges. As you all know that Himalayas is tectonically very active and unstable region. So because of this, there are increased disasters in this Himalayas. Even we can also see changing of climate also increased this events in this Himalayas. So here they are talking that they have to set up this early warning system. So this topic is important from again environment and ecology from GS paper 3. And next topic is the politics of EBC, economically backward caste in Bihar. So this topic is talking about reservations for this EBCs, and it is talking about recent socio-economic caste census of Bihar, which is very important from your polity point of view, guys. So these all are the topics that are going to be discussed in this class. Apart from that, in editorial page, there are two articles. First one, it is about cyclone Monta. Already we discussed about that, so I'm not taking that for the today's discussion. And next one is India and Asian. Recently we discussed about this Asian article also in our class, so I'm skipping that as well. So just refer what are the facts that we discussed in our earlier class. Okay, now let us see the first article. See the title, guys. IIP growth dips to 3-month low of 4% in September. In your economy, you have to draw this kind of graphs, guys, especially in your mains. Okay, here you can see this IIP. So if you compare with last year September, that is September 24 and September 25, it had improved. Okay, now it is improved. But if you compare with earlier times like January 2025, it is dipped. That is the thing which mainly said by this article. So the key word in this article is just IIP, Index of Industrial Production. So what is this Index of Industrial Production? It is an index which mainly measures industries, activities, manufacturing sector activities in our country, right? Okay, now let us see the keywords. First one is Index of Industrial Production. So here you have to see what is this Index of Industrial Production, and you have to see who will releases this. Okay, and you have to see what is the score. So this is important from your prelims point of view, guys. And from your mains point of view, you have to see why now it is in use. That is the present context. And now you have to see why there is decreasing of index of industrial production. So what are the reasons behind it? And you have to think about what is a way forward, or what are the measures that we can take to push back our industry's growth. So all these are very important from your mains point of view, guys. Okay, now let us see the context. The index of industrial production in India recorded 4.0% year on year in September 2025. And if you're comparing with the last month, also we are maintaining the same pace now. And if you see the key sectors performance, especially if you focus on this manufacturing sector, so manufacturing sector now had emerged as a growth engine in our economy, guys. And especially manufacturing of basic metals is contributing around 12.3 percentage, and manufacturing of electrical equipments contribute 28.7 percentage, and manufacturing of motor vehicles, trailers, semi-trailers is just 14.6 percentage. Overall, 13 out of 23 industrial groups within manufacturing they recorded positive growth. So around 23 important major manufacturing sectors are there in our country. Out of this, at least 13 are recorded positive growth in this month. And if you see this mining sector, in this mining sector, we can see the contraction of 0.4 percentage. When we are comparing with the previous year, now mining is going somewhat slow now. And if you see this electricity sector registered around 3.1 percentage of slowdown when we compare with the previous months. So if you see now we are in winter season, rainy season, right? Winter season started and rainy season completed. So do we have more demand for this ACs, electronic appliances, as when we compared with the month of like May, April? No, right? So because of this, if you're comparing with the earlier months, and even if you're comparing with the September 2024, that is last year, now there is decreased growth in this electricity. And if you compare with this summer months and winter months, obviously there will be reduced use of electricity, right? And if you're comparing with the September 2024 and September 2025, so what happened between this 1 year? There is increased developments and advancements in technology, so that the people usage of this electronic goods also had been increased compared to that of last year. Okay, but on another side, we can see there is contraction. So you have to see how we are saving energy. So even though there is increased advancements in technology also, now we are moving towards renewable energy sources. Like most of the vehicles that we are producing is going to be run on solar, and even we are focusing on PM Kusum and as well as Surya Ghar Muft Bijli Yojana. So government is promoting this renewable energy sources. So because of this, obviously, regarding this electricity which is made from this thermal or coal, it is decreasing. Okay, so this is one example which mainly says that even we are going to reduce our carbon dioxide emissions soon, and we are going to achieve our renewable energy targets, guys. And now let us see the key analysis of this article. So if you see this article, it is saying that IIP, it is a key indicator of industrial performance, and this performance is directly influencing our GDP growth. As you all know that there are three major sectors of our country. What are they? Agriculture, industries or manufacturing, and third one is service sector. So all these sectors, they contribute to our GDP. So if we are having this good IIP, means good performance of industries, and obviously that will lead to the good contribution to GDP. What happens if IIP is decreased? There will be very less contribution to our GDP. So that is the thing which mainly said here. And especially manufacturing plays a very important role in any economy, not only in India. Why? Because it will be the drivers of economic growth. Not only that, this manufacturing sector can create lots of employment, especially in this informal sector as well. So because of this, it will be acting as a growth engine. And even our government came up with its own goal called as Atmanirbhar Bharat, or Self-Reliance India. So if you want to produce all the goods that we required or that we are using in our country means what happens? We can go for generation of more employment, more production, more consumption. Obviously, we can improve different indicators of our country. That is the next point they said. And next one is, if we are doing good in this manufacturing sector, obviously we can also attract more investment. That investment may be from Indians, that investment may be from foreigners. So if foreigners are coming and investing in our country, that is called as foreign investment, and we have FDI and FPI. If you're attracting more foreign investment, what happens? We can save more forex reserves, and even we can make our rupee value strong against this dollar. Okay, next one here is based on this IIP, if it is decreasing or if it is increasing, our government can make policies accordingly so that we can push our economy in the front run. Okay, so these are the things that you have to remember, guys. And now let us see the next article, very important article from history, that is about Chhat Puja. And especially in your history, that is in your GS paper 1, it will start with art and culture, right? So in art and culture, you will be knowing about festivals, fairs, what is our culture, what is our architecture, India is famous for which kind of artifacts, everything. So from that point of view, this article is very important. And Chhat Puja is commonly very famous in North compared to that of South India. And Chhat Puja is a 4-day festival, and in this festival, they will, especially women, will worship sun god, and it involves direct fasting without water or without sorry, and making they will be making some offerings to this Usha. Usha means nothing but rising sun, and Pratyusha means the setting sun. So they will worship for this rising sun and as well as setting sun, that is early morning and as well as evening times. And if they want to pray for the sun, they have to go to nearby water bodies and they have to stand in this water body and they have to offer prayers for this sun god. And when this festival starts on 6th day of Kartik Shukla Paksha. And if you see the origins of this festival and what are the beliefs regarding this festival, so this festival has been written even in Ramayana and Mahabharata also. In this Ramayana, especially Lord Ram and Goddess Sita, they fasted and they performed Yagna for sun after returning victorious to Ayodhya. At that time, they did this festival. And not only that, even Mahabharata also, Draupadi observed a fast and prayer to sun, while Karna held a ceremony in honor of Surya. So even in this Mahabharata also, they noted about this Chhat Puja and also in Ramayana. So especially because of this two epics, it is very much famous in North India compared to that of South India, guys. And if you see the rituals, what women do on this day. So on the first day, devotees, they take a ceremonial bath in nearby river or any pond or lake before having their first meal. And on second day, these fasters eat only one meal and the preparation of tekwas begins and 36-hour fast begins after the meal. So first one they'll go for ceremonial bath and the second day they will eat only for one meal, and later on this 36-hour fast will starts. And on this third day, devotees go to river banks to offer fruits, light diyas, while performing evening offerings to the setting sun. And especially they will offer some seasonal fruits like sweet potato, water chestnuts, bananas, etc. to Lord Sun. And on this fourth day, the same ritual is repeated at the dawn for the rising sun, and they will offer and they will leave the fast. So in this way, women, they will worship this sun for 4 days continuously. And what are the messages which is given by this Chhat festival? So this festival mainly conveys a message that all people are equal in the eyes of the god, and they always feel that nature is very much sacred and it should be honored. And it also highlights about the cyclical nature of life, both dusk and dawn. So as you all know that dusk and dawn, they will say that in everyone's life we will not have completely happiness, we will not have completely sorrow. So our life is a mix of happiness and sorrow, and we have to balance them both by what are the actions we do. So this Chhat Puja, which mainly highlights about the cyclic nature of life, guys. Okay, the setting sun represents the promise of a new rise. So if sun is setting means obviously in the next day the sun has to rise, right? So here every day will provides a hope of a new morning. So that is about this representation of this Chhat Puja. And say this next article, guys, rising sea surface temperature leading to more cyclones. What are the keywords here? Sea temperature. Second one is cyclones. So actually there is a link between the cyclone formation and sea surface temperature. So what is the minimum temperature required to form a cyclone? 27 degrees centigrade, right? So now this article is saying that because of global warming, climate change, there is increasing of sea surface temperature, that will leads to increasing of cyclone formation, and even intensity of cyclone is very high if there is increased sea surface temperature. So here they gave one infographic here, so you have to make a note of this. So this article is saying that since 2010 onwards, Andhra Pradesh has become one of the most vulnerable hit state because of the cyclones. So here in this 2013, cyclone called as Falin, and in 2013 in November next month, Helen, in 2014 Hudhud, in 2018 Titli, in 2023 Michgong. So these are the different types of cyclones which had been affected coast of this AP from 2010 onwards. Okay, so here recently meteorologists they identified that there is increased sea surface temperature phenomena in this Bay of Bengal that is leading to increased formation of cyclones, guys. Okay, so you have to draw a map of India and you have to see Arabian Sea cyclones and as well as Bay of Bengal cyclones which had been affecting our Indian coast, guys. And you have to know at least 5 to 10 names regarding these cyclones on this Bay of Bengal side and Arabian Sea side. Okay, now let us say this article, and this is very important from your geography from GS paper 1 and as well as from GS paper 3 under environment and ecology. Okay, so since 2010, Andhra Pradesh has borne the burst of at least 10 major cyclones, and some of these tropical cyclones they categorized as severe and very severe cyclonic storms. And not only this AP, even Tamil Nadu and even this Tamil Nadu and Odisha is also had been affected a lot by these cyclones which formed in this Bay of Bengal region. And meteorologists they are saying that because of this rapid rise in sea surface temperature, that leads to increased vulnerability of eastern coast. And you are saying that there is increased sea surface temperature around 26.5 to 27 degrees centigrade. So because of this increasing of sea temperature, that is providing necessary energy for formation of cyclones, guys. So what is happening now? Why it is happening? The first important reason here is increasing of vehicular emissions, increasing of carbon dioxide release into atmosphere. And not only that, we are releasing lots of greenhouse gases into atmosphere. So because of this, what is happening? There is a rapid change in the climate. So because of this, there is increasing of heat. And second one is natural climate oscillations. So whenever you study about monsoons in your geography, you will come across two important concepts. First one is Indian Ocean Dipole. Second one is ENSO, El Nino Southern Oscillation. So because of this climate change, these cycles are changing. So because of this change in these two cycles, that leads to increased formation of cyclones. So if you see this Indian Ocean Dipole, it is nothing but, here we have India, guys. Okay, here we have India, and here we can see Horn of Africa. Here we have Madagascar, and here we have Australia. So what happens in this Indian Ocean region is, as you all know that ITC, the Intertropical Convergence Zone, will be moving northwards during this summer solstice. So because of this, low pressure area will be created on Tropic of Cancer, which is passing through India, right? So here we have low pressure. And if you see here regarding this Australia, we can have high pressure. Comparatively, the temperature will be cooler when we are seeing with this India. So what happens now? Always winds will move from which pressure to which pressure? High pressure to low pressure. So now what happens here is the winds will start moving like this, and that will causes rainfall in India. Okay, now what has happened? This will be like normal phenomena. But because of climate change, what is happening? Something reverse is happening. So here we can see low pressure is forming in this Indian Ocean region. Okay, so because of this, what is happening? There is increased formation of cyclones in this region, especially Indo-Pacific region. There is increased temperature because of alteration of climate change. So this should be the normal phenomena that will cause us good rainfall in India. But rather than creating low pressure on this in 23.5 degrees north, that is Tropic of Cancer, they are increasing this pressure increasing this temperature in this Indian Ocean region, that is causing formation of cyclones. So that is the thing which mainly said. So whatever the phenomena that happen, that should happen normally. So we are getting opposite phenomena. So if we are having this Indian Ocean dipole moment in a positive phase, that is low pressure on India and high pressure near Australia, then winds will be moving towards India so that that can cause rainfall properly. But now what is happening here is Indian Ocean dipole negative phase is happening. So in this negative phase, what happening? Here we can see low pressure and here we can see high pressure. So because of this, wind will start moving opposite direction. So whenever there is increasing of temperature on this sea, okay, that is Bay of Bengal region, then what happened here? Cyclones will be forming here in this negative phase. So that is our important reason which mainly said by this meteorological department behind the reasons of the cyclones. And second phenomena is called as El Nino and La Nina phenomena. And normally, and during normal times, if you say here we have India and here we have Australia and here we have South America. So what happens normally? Here we have ITCZ. Normally we will be having low pressure here. And this is South America coast. So here we have high pressure. And here we have low pressure across this Australia, this side. Okay, then what happens? Winds we have to move from this high pressure region to low pressure region. So this is called as La Nina. In normal year, this is a phenomena which happens. But what happens in this El Nino is reverse mechanism. So here instead of high pressure, we have low pressure, high pressure here, and we have low pressure on India. So because of this, instead of winds moving from South America to Australia, now winds will move from Australia to South America. So the rainfall where it causes, rainfall will be caused in this coast of South America, which causes even floods in that region. Okay, then what happens here? From here also we will attract winds, but only less number of winds will attract, so that India will receive less rainfall during this condition called as El Nino. So entire this circulation of winds between this India, Australia and South America is called as ENSO. Okay, El Nino Southern Oscillation. Okay, so here this article is saying that recently IMD found that not only increasing of global warming because of this climate oscillations like Indian Ocean dipole and as well as ENSO, that is El Nino Southern Oscillation, also influencing this formation of cyclones. So these are the two important reasons for increasing of cyclone formation frequency of cyclones in this Bay of Bengal region. Because of that, it is hitting which coast? AP coast. So what will be the impact? So this impact can be divided into four types. First one is environmental impact. So here, because of this cyclones, what happens in the cyclones? Wind will be moving at a very high speed and even very heavy rainfall will be there. So because of that, obviously our coast will be getting eroded. So recently we know that AP also coming up with a new project called as Great Green Wall Project to protect its coast, right? So first important problem faced by this AP due to this cyclones is coastal erosions. And this one here is there is destruction of marine and as well as coastal ecosystems like coral reefs, mangrove forest, etc. So there is ecosystem damage. And next impact here is there is loss of biodiversity, even loss of humans, different animals, loss of infrastructure, everything. And if you see economic impact, there will be damage to the roads, especially AP people. I think you might know about what is the impact of this cyclone clearly. The very fast moving winds will mainly leads to the felling down of trees, felling down of electric poles and as well as telephone poles, etc. So here there is a lots of damage to this infrastructure, like homes will be getting destroyed, roads, bridges, power lines, communication networks, etc. And even because of very heavy rainfall, that will also leads to the loss to the agriculture. So most of the crops will be inundated under the water. Yes, and next one here is there is disruption for trade and as well as livelihood. People will not have proper economic activities also. And next one is Government has to spend lot of amount to provide relief. Government will be providing food, basic amenities like drinking water, milk packets. Have you ever seen whenever the floods happens in this region because of the cyclones, helicopters will be providing food for the people. They will just drop in the water bottles and milk packets, food packets, etc. So here there will be increased disaster relief cost also for the government. And not only this, even there is also impact on the society. There will be loss of life and displacement. So because of this, sometimes families will lose bread earner of a family. So because of that, what happened? Entire family has to face societal distress. And next one is it will also leads to increasing of health risk. Because of this contaminated water, flooded water, there will be increased risk of transmission of this communicable disease also. And next one is there will be psychological trauma, long term mental health impact will be there on the people who were affected because of this cyclones. Okay, and what is the way forward? What can be done? In the way forward, you have to write about two important things. First one is mitigation, and second one is adaptation and disaster management. So, what is the mitigation? Mitigation is nothing but we have to address what is the root cause for that event, and we have to try to prevent impact of that so and so disaster on the people. That is called as mitigation. So in this mitigation, we have to go for reducing of greenhouse gases, because greenhouse gases are the important reason for increasing of climate change. We have to control that greenhouse emissions. So how can we go for reducing of greenhouse emissions? We have to use renewable energy, and next one is we have to use technology for absorbing of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, and next one is we can go for sustainable alternatives for greenhouse gases. And next one here is we have to follow international agreements, we have to go for conventions, and we have to take proper steps to control this climate change. And next one is we have to invest in climate research. We have to understand the cyclone formation, intensity, risk, and we have to go for setting up of proper early warning systems. Everything we have to focus on. And in this disaster management, first important step that we have to focus is early warning system. So what are the early warning system that are there now? They are not that much efficient as compared to that of other countries. So we have to focus on upgrading of our technology. Even before the formation of the cyclones itself, people needs to get alerts regarding what is happening in this Bay of Bengal region, especially in this coastal districts. And next one is we have to go for coastal zone management. We have to go for implementation for this coastal zone management plans. Especially we have to focus on restoration, protection of natural defenses like mangroves and as well as wetlands. And now government is focusing on this project example, Great Green Wall of AP. And next one is we have to focus on infrastructure resilience. Like before disaster is going to hit that area, we have to go for displacement of that people so that we can minimize the loss of life. And we have to go for building of cyclone shelters in this cyclone vulnerable areas. And next one is we have to make community prepared. Like we have to go for regular awareness, and even we have to go for mock drills. So recently regarding this Operation Sindoor, we went for defense mock drills, right? In the same way, before that area is hit by this disaster, so we have to go for conducting of mock drills. What steps that to be taken by the people in that time? How can they save their life? How can they go for rescue of other people who had been hit in that area? And this one is we have to go for diversification of livelihoods. Actually, mostly this coastal area people will be dependent on fishing. Fishing will be their major activity. If there is any cyclone, will government allow this fishermen to enter into this water? No, right? They will be giving more alerts to this fisherman community compared to that of mainstream community. So because of this, here what happens? There will be disruption of livelihood. So if you want to maintain economic activities in that area, we have to go for diversification of our work or economic activities in this region. And next one is we have to go for increased technology innovation, and we have to focus on even international cooperation. The cyclones which are forming in this entire Indian Ocean, which will be not only affecting our India, but even the countries which are sharing boundary with Indian Ocean will be getting affected. So we need to have multinational cooperation coordination so that we can go for proper information sharing, and we can go for taking of proper measures to minimize the risk. Okay, so these are some important things that you have to remember from this article. And now let us see the next article. See the title: Relocation of forest dwellers from tiger reserves must be voluntary. So this article is very important from your environment and ecology, guys. So now let us see the context. So recently our Union Tribal Affairs Ministry mandated that relocation of this forest dwelling communities from this tiger reserve, it should be like voluntary, exceptional and evidence based measure. We should not go for forceful relocation of these tribes, guys. So especially in this tiger reserves or biosphere reserves or very important forest, who will be living in that region? Obviously tribal people. So if you are going for development or if you're going for taking of any conservation measures, we will try to limit the people entry into that. So if people entry is happening, means obviously it will leads to the destruction of that so and so biodiversity. So we'll try to minimize the movement of people in that. So what government is doing so far is government is going for forceful relocation of this tribal people from this tiger reserves. So because of this, now many petitions are coming, and now finally Union Tribal Affairs Ministry said that this relocation of tribals in this tiger reserve should be voluntary. They have to come forward. Then only government has to go for relocation. Government should not go for forceful relocation of this tribal people. So for that, our government came up with one framework called as National Framework for Community-Centered Conservation Relocation. And this is for the first time we came up with this kind of guidelines for the relocation of tribals from conservation areas. So actually this framework, which mainly says about the procedures, timelines and accountability between different ministries regarding relocation of these tribals. And they also came up with one database, national database on conservation community interface. So this database will be focusing on monitoring of relocations and even compensation for the people who had been relocated from that area, and they'll be focusing on outcomes, and this according to Forest Conservation Act or Forest Rights Act of 2006, and it is also according to Wildlife Protection Act of 1972, guys. Okay, and what are the positive impacts now? Now it will empower these tribal communities. If they want to go, then only they will go. If they don't want to go, they will stay in that place only, and they will also take part in this conservation process. So that we are going to empower this tribal people under Forest Rights Act. And next one here is, according to this framework, they are also going to appoint a dedicated complaints officer, especially in these tiger reserves, to see about this community-led conservation process by using this local tribal knowledge. And they are also going to promote innovative models for sustainable human-wildlife interactions as well, so that they can improve long-term biodiversity outcomes. And next one is, they are going to apply this to India's 591 villages now. In that 591 villages, around 64,801 families are living in this region. And actually from 2002 onwards, around 5,166 families, they were relocated forcefully. So because of this, we are going to have a stronger safeguards regarding the protection of tribal rights, guys. Okay. And now let us see the next article. See the title: Women Vital for Peace, that is Sustainable, says MP in United Nations. So what this article is talking about? Women plays a very important role in sustainability. And this is the statement which is mainly said by Member of Parliament in United Nations. And here this article you can use whatever the content that we are going to discuss now, that you can use while you are writing your answers regarding women empowerment and even essay regarding women empowerment. And we have to see what is the role of women played in establishment of peace across the world, guys. It is one of the very important article of the day. So now let us see the context. India was among the first countries to recognize women in building sustainable peace. It is a thing which mainly said by this Rajya Sabha member in United Nations directly. Okay, that means it is one of the important achievement for women empowerment that we can say. So if you see why women are vital for the sustainable peace, as you all know that India is contributing largest peacekeeping forces in the world. So in that peacekeeping forces, we have good women population. So women peacekeepers, they excel in building community trust, and even they are providing a hope for these vulnerable communities as well. And particularly this peacekeeping is mainly a male dominant area, but India is contributing female peacekeepers. So because of this, India is the first country to identify women in sustainability. And second important thing they said is women also play a very important role in addressing gender based violence, and also women can ensure peace establishment, especially they will incorporate diverse social needs and perspectives. And women also inspiring the local women in conflict areas, and they want to emerge as leaders and peace builders. So because of this, whenever we are incorporating women in different areas, we can ensure gender equality. Not only that, we can also focus on long term stability as well. And India is also providing medical officers in Congo from 1960. From 1960 onwards, Indian women medical officers are even serving in this Congo. Where is this Congo located? In Africa, right? And it is one of the earliest United Nations peacekeeping deployments involving women. And not only that, India also came up with United Nations first all-female formed police unit. So India sent female police officers to this Liberia in 2007. So in that Liberia, our Indian police unit, they are motivating this Liberian women to join security forces. So in that way, Indian women, they are becoming a guiding light for the women empowerment in different countries, guys. So this is success of Indian women in the world. So because of all these things, our Rajya Sabha member, that is member of parliament, he said this statement that India is the first country to accept the role of women in sustainable peace. So you may get directly an essay or a mains question regarding this topic. It's just utmost important topic, because directly member of parliament accepted about the role of women in this patriarchal society. Okay. So now let us see the next article, guys. Title says setting up an early warning system for the Himalayas poses unique challenges. As you all know that where is Himalayas located? In the north of our country. So why this Himalayas formed and how? Because of this plate movements, Indo-Australian plate is moving towards northwards, and finally it hit which plate? Eurasian plate. And whatever the water body which is present between India and Eurasian plate during this plate movement, that was Tethys Sea. What are the sediments in that Tethys Sea that had been raised to form this Himalayas? And in this Himalayas we have Trans Himalayas, Greater Himalayas, Lesser Himalayas, and Outer Himalayas called as Sivaliks. Okay, so because of this plate movement, even today also the plate is moving towards northwards. So because of this region is very highly unstable, and we can see convergence boundaries here in this Himalayan region. So because of this area is very much vulnerable to earthquakes, landslides. Okay, so this article is saying that there is increased disasters in this Himalayan region from 1963 to 1972, and actually from 1973 to 1982 13 disasters happened in this region, and especially from 2013 to 2022 68 disasters happened in this Himalayan region. So whatever the disasters were happening in India, 48% of disasters, they are happening only in this Himalayan states. Okay, that means Himalayan states are very much vulnerable to this landslides, earthquakes, avalanches, whatnot. Okay, so this article is saying that we need to have a proper data, and we have to focus on how can we process the data, and we are launching lots of Earth observation satellites into space. We can also use the satellites data, and we have to formulate a proper policy regarding how to decrease the disasters occurrence in this Himalayan region. And researchers, they are saying that Himalayan catastrophes are not being given priority by the stakeholders, considering the impact of warming on mountain dynamics. So here we need to go for early warning system. Early warning system is very, very important, so that we can understand at what rate the melting of the glaciers is happening. So which kind of disasters we can see? Earthquakes we can see, landslides we can see. Apart from that, this Himalayas are covered with what? Snow and ice. So So because of this global warming, the melting of this snow and ice is happening. So because of this, what is happening? Whatever the rivers, especially in Himalayan river system, there is increasing of water. So that will lead to the flash floods. Yes or no? And recently we saw that there is increased mini cloudburst even in this Himalayan region. So because of all this, what is happening? There is increased risk of disasters in this Himalayan region. So because of this article is saying that early warning system is must, and we have to focus on improving of technology in this early warning system, and we have to provide timely updates to the people who are living in this Himalayan states because they are very much vulnerable to this disasters. Okay, now let us see the next article. Look at the title, guys. The politics of EBC in Bihar. So if you want to know about this article, just we need to go and check what is the background regarding this article. So recently, Bihar state went for caste survey, socio-economic caste census it did. And in this caste survey, they found that around 36% of population of Bihar, they are EBCs, extremely backward categories. So EBC is nothing but extremely backward categories. They are around 36% of entire this Bihar comes under this category. And what they did after finding that, they added this EBC category with OBC, and now total OBC is nothing but other backward caste, right? So total OBCs in this Bihar is 63% of population. Okay, so this is about the basic background. So they came with this socio-economic caste census, and they found that extremely backward category is there, and they added with this OBC, and now present OBC is 63% in Bihar. Okay, so what is the reservation which is provided for this OBC? Normally, according to Mandal Commission report, 27% of OBC reservation. But now here population of OBC is 63%. Is that possible to provide this entire OBC community with the 63% of reservation? And already we have one Supreme Court judgment. Indra Sahani case says that reservations in a state should not cross 50%. So if they are giving only reservation for this OBC completely, that is into 63. Then what about the scheduled caste, scheduled tribes? So if you compare all this, it will be for sure more than 70. So whether is it crossing the limits of Supreme Court judgment or not, so that is a problem now, guys. So here this article is saying that extremely backward caste or diversified caste, and they marked around 36% in the population of Bihar, and now they were combined with OBC or upper backward caste, and now it is 63% now OBC population Bihar. And they came up with this implementation of Mungiri Lal Commission report of 1976, and they said that reservation for the backward caste is caste in higher education and jobs. We have to initiate that reservation. The problem here is how can we provide this reservation for entire this 63% of community. So if they are providing complete reservation for this extremely backward classes, and if they are leaving this OBC, will the people will listen? Will the people will maintain law and order? No, they will do the protest, right? So everyone wants reservation for employment opportunities and as well as education sector. So here the problem here is, yes, EBC if they are continuing, so if they are not giving OBC reservations, now the talk which is going on there, and people are doing protest, and people are especially demanding for scheduled caste status for this Danu community. They are presently listed in this EBC. So actually one community called as Danu community, and now they came under this EBC category, but they are asking for scheduled caste category. Why they are asking for the scheduled caste category? Because they will be getting more reservations. Okay, so that is the thing which is going on. It is about entirely regarding these reservations. So you can see the fundamental rights in our constitution which talks about this reservation, and you have to see about this Indra Sahani judgment regarding 50% cap on reservations to be provided by the state in education as well as employment opportunities. So see those two things, guys, nothing more than that. And you have to remember one point, that is this Bihar came up with this caste based census. In that EBCs are 36%, and they joined or they merged with this OBCs. Now OBC population in this Bihar is 63%. Okay, so these 3 points are very important. So these are the very important articles that appear in our today's Hindi newspaper, guys. By this I'm concluding. Thank you so much, guys, for watching, and please do like this class and share this class. And don't forget to subscribe to Rathod's IAS Academy. You can follow us on our Telegram channel. The link is given in the description box, where we are providing daily current affairs PDF. And apart from that, you can also follow us on our Instagram channel, where we are providing daily prelims question with answer, and as well as mains question with model answer, and also current affairs in short. And we have 2 YouTube channels. One is English official channel and Telugu official channel. So you can follow us on our 2 channels so that you can get updates regarding current affairs in short. Thank you so much, guys.